What's up, brother? It's your boy, Mike Muse. Welcome to the Conversation, the Mike Muse Show. I am so excited to be in conversation with my next guest. I've already told this brother off camera how much that I love him, and he doesn't even know me, and it's super weird, super strange, but you know the feels. The incredible actor, Mr. Tom Pelphrey. What's happening, guy?
Hey, Mike, it's good to be here, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate the love. Now we get to know each
Yeah. Yeah, before I go, I know right now we can meet, right, and say hello. Well, I'm a Leo, Tom. I love long walks in the park.
I'm
No,
also a Leo, Mike. I'm
no
also a Leo.
way.
Maybe that's where some of the bonding is. Yeah.
Does it? I'm the third. Where are you?
I'm July 28th.
Oh, you're a July
I'm a
Leo.
little July Leo.
Oh, July Eels are really interesting.
Yeah, well, as a July Leo, I appreciate you saying
Yeah, no, it is.
that.
But first of all, Tom, I'm digging the minimalist that you have going in the background. Nice little plant,
Listen,
nice little architecture plant.
let me tell you something right now, Mike. I'm in Austin, okay? I was down here for work and I'm renting this house, and this house has nothing to it. So
Oh,
what you
wow.
see right here as minimalist is like we could take I have a little candle going here.
Yeah.
We could do
Oh,
that to
we
spruce
could
it up.
see I had my candle in the background too.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Yeah.
I just like it here because then I can smell it better. But
But
yeah,
Tom, are you
Mike.
into, dude? Are you into I always like my candles before interviews. Are you into aromatherapy by chance?
I
Like, what's
love
your vibe?
candles. Love candles. Love the incense. Love the sage. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and I'm looking right at my sage. I just had a
Yeah.
conversation with my trainer this morning because he came in and he saw my sage stick. He's like, "Yo, you're into sage?" I was like, "Yeah." And so we started talking about it, and he's not into it. But I've been trying to work with him on doing some more self care because he's one of those I pick things up, I put things down, right? Kind of. And I'm like, brother, you need like some to release all that energy you have in the day. And so I'm working. I bought him his first candle about a couple of months ago. He's liking it.
Good.
So now
Good.
we gotta get into the sage part. See, Tom, I knew we vibe, man. I knew it.
Yeah,
I just
no.
felt it.
We
I just
vibe.
felt
We
it.
vibe. Yeah.
So
There's
I met you on, I think, where I don't know how everyone got introduced to Tom, but for me, I got introduced to you through Ozark on the previous season, and when I tell you, Tom, like I was like, holy shit, that guy can act. And full disclosure, Tom, and my audience knows this, I don't really, I mean, I would have actors on, but my actors are not really like my thing that I love. I love speaking more so with directors than actors. Because I feel like directors have more of a beat on the film or the show or the storyline. I like to go deep, with that, understand the nuance of it. And sometimes actors are they just read the lines, they go about their day, and it's fine. It's fine. But for me, I enjoy a good conversation, and so I normally don't. But for you, I literally couldn't wait to have this conversation. The way that you did that, and we're here to talk about other properties that Tom is working on right now, but the way you did those scenes in Ozark, man, was absolutely killer. And when you were in the car, holy shit. I mean,
yeah.
you are so good, man.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, look, that was a
You're a
special shot.
thespian. Like, you're a thespian. I don't even think you're an actor. Like I'm giving you the title of thespian. Like, you can like legit act. Like, really.
Well, yeah, that's where it all started. Was always theater for me. It wasn't until years later that I got to act in front of a camera and all those things. And one of the benefits of that, I think, with some theater training is like you're saying, you appreciate talking to a director about a script because you feel like they can break it down better. And where I come from, the actors need to know how to do that too. You need to understand how to read a script, because understanding how to read it, you start to learn how to read between the lines for what's there, and you really
Yeah.
can get all your information from it. And now when it's a really good script, you just have infinite information. And the thought process sometimes when I talk to actors who don't like to do this is basically like, well, if everyone's working from the same script, like, wouldn't then your performance be the same as somebody else's who was reading the same script? It's like, of course not, because you're putting it into your computer. You're taking the raw data and you're running it through your mind and your heart and your creativity and your weird imagination and the things that sort of strike you about it. And then what comes out is, hopefully the performance, which should be ultimately integral to the thrust of the story as a whole.
Yeah.
That you're not off on one. You're
Yeah.
not being weird or cool for weird or cool's sake. That
Yeah.
actually, no matter how interesting it might be, that you're there to serve the story.
And I think that's why you're so good at that. I believe that, says the guy who's never acted, right? Who am I to tell actors what they should and should not be doing, right? I'm very I want to qualify my unsolicited, untrained advice. I just think that it would benefit actors more if they would do that, right? And have a more understanding of the overall universe that they're entering in, and almost like how their character relates to other characters. But also too, like, what is the nuance of the character, but also too, what is this film saying? Like, what is this film moderating, right? Or what is this show moderating, right? Like, what are we doing here? And I think it will bring another level of depthness to it. And I believe a lot of actors just lack that, right? I think get in, do their job, and that's kind of it. But I think you coming from the stage is different. I'm a big lover of Broadway. And so I think anything live theater, and I'm Midwest, so I say theater. So
theater, nice.
Yeah.
Where are we from? Where are we from that we're saying theater?
I'm from Michigan, from Lansing, Michigan.
Nice.
I'm so self-conscious of it. So I went to the Oscars, I have a partnership with the Academy, and so I went as a guest. But also too had to do the post recap for ABC for Good America, and I know I have the thing with theater, and so I just used the word auditorium, right, to talk about what it was like on the inside for the big slap. I'm like, so I was in the auditorium, right? I'm like, Mike, do not say theater. Just don't say theater. Do not say theater.
I sort of like that pronunciation. It sort of gives the word like a kind of beauty. It makes it a bit more regal. I think it's okay.
I think so. But you guys always roast me when I say that. They're like, Mike, theater? I'm like, yes. I know I should say theater, but it just sounds weird saying theater. I don't know. It's not natural for me. But I think I just think that coming from the stage, I think those actors, I think you guys are I don't want to go there, but I think you guys bring a different provenance to your characters because of the stage, and like you can't do redos and you can't yell cut and you can't go over it, right? And then you're vibing off of the crowd.
Yeah. I think you're right. And I think, I think there's obviously so much attention to the script on stage. Sometimes when you're in film or television, depending on who you're working with or what you're working on, there's sort of a leeway and sometimes even encouraged to improvise. Yeah. We have the framework of the scene, but now let's just play with it, and you can kind of say what you want, and maybe we'll do one that's how it's written, and maybe we'll improvise one, on the stage that I've never experienced that unless you're doing like an improv comedy show. Like on the stage, it's word perfect, and so the value of the words and the meaning of the words is heightened when that's the way you're working. And again, it's just a way of understanding a thing that, if, like you said, if you understand perhaps what this story is saying, and then from working with the director, sort of understand through rehearsal how they want to say that, then you can understand what your role is in that. And to me, it's the opposite of constricting, because at first you hear that and it's like, well, that's all so heady, and then you're stuck in this little lane. But it's like, no, once you know for sure how you can serve, it opens up all the possibilities, because I know what I need to do here, and I can already think of 100 different ways I can do that.
Yeah, you can go either direction. Yes, Tom. Yeah. Because how you just said that is how I approach my interviews. Like I tell like a lot of, your not you, but like when actors or whoever my subjects are, their handlers and, people who are working with them will ask me ahead of time, what are you going to talk with, my client about? What were the questions? I'm like, I don't have any questions. And they're like, well, we need to see the questions. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. And I was like, well, don't book the show. You know what I mean? And so I don't know what to tell you, right? And so they're like, well, I said, well, obviously the framework will be within this. Like, I'm not going to talk to your client about making a cake if they don't bake cakes, right? And so I always tell them, I said, the conversation is going to go wherever the subject goes. And I was like, the interview can be as good as your client. I was like, if your client is great, then the interview's going to be great. I was like, if your client's a douchebag, there's going to be a douchey interview, right? Because I'm so prepared on the topics of the day that I can go anywhere with it, right? But that comes from all the prep work that goes into me interviewing, right? Like I never come into a space interview not being fully prepared because I never want to get the question or you start going somewhere that I can't handle, right? And that is my biggest fear, right? And so that's what keeps me so going. And really, I think at the top of my game is because I'm always doing research, preparing, watching, reading, studying, watching, reading, studying. So that no matter where you go, Tom, like I can take it, right? You know, so I also know that you're not going to talk to me about nuclear physics, although that is my background too as well. But like I don't have to be prepared. Maybe you want to, that's cool, right? But like coming in, like I'm like, we're not going to do that. So I like how you set the stage and that nuance in allowing the moment of spontaneity, right? And seeing kind of where it goes, and we both can be able to handle it and be prepared for that. So I see why I get it, Tom. See, I knew I loved you. I knew I loved you.
And I love that you say all that, and that's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
The enemy of spontaneity is not being prepared. It's the opposite.
Yes. Okay, and listen, I'm gonna go on to Outer Range and the whole nine. And just so you know, I love Plan B. So I saw you working with Plan B. I was like, yes, right? Like huge fan of Jeremy Kleiner and Dee Dee. Told Jeremy, I said, what's up? He owes me some coffee. We haven't done our coffee sessions in about a couple of years, but when I used to do my LA trips frequently pre-COVID, we used to get together for coffee. Great guy, great guy. But before we do that, I want to ask you, because I can't give up Ozark just yet. What did you do to prepare for that character? Because, and I'm just curious, it's my own personal reasons. Me and my friends still talk about you, even before I knew you were gonna be a guest of mine, because it was so layered. You should have got the Emmy. So I'm like already doing your Emmy nomination for Outer Range. Don't worry, I got you. I haven't even seen one episode.
Mike's like, we're getting it in there somehow.
Audience, I haven't seen one episode yet. I didn't get a sneak peek, but I'm just already advocating for you for the Emmy. What did you do to prepare for that role, man?
Yeah,
you killed it. Like you killed it, Tom. You fucking killed it, bro.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So, I mean, there was a book, and now I'm forgetting the name of it because it's been years. But there was a book written about bipolar. That was written like back in the 70s or 80s. It was written by this woman who was a really singular book in the sense that she had bipolar. And so she was taking you through almost a memoir of her teenage years, the onset of, I think it was the depression first. She talks about her first manic episode and what that felt like and what happened and describes all this. What makes it sort of singular is that she becomes a doctor and a mental health doctor and then studies bipolar and helps treat people with bipolar. Yeah, I know. And so on the one hand, you're getting a very raw account of like how scary this could be in someone's life, how it comes out of nowhere, how seductive it can be. Like she said there was times when she was manic where she truly felt like she understood the secrets of the universe.
Wow.
Like she was able to see how it was all connected and how it was all working and just not quite able to articulate it. And you can imagine, like, wow, like, man, that would be an amazing fit. You know, all of us go through life and you look for meaning and you look for answers. And like, can you imagine if suddenly you're Neo in the Matrix and you see all the numbers and everything makes it, it's like, wow, that must be so seductive and empowering. And, you know, like, she talks about all these things. And then, of course, the downside, because after the manic episode, there would be these horrible depressions. And then she's telling you all this, obviously, as a doctor. And she's saying, like, the only thing that could help her when she was eventually diagnosed and eventually, like, you know, her life started to fall apart because of how she was struggling and the way she was behaving. There was some sexual behavior that was not good for a relationship and was hurting friends and family, and you know, and which is apparently not too uncommon. And and the depressions that would hit after these
Wow.
mind-blowing manic episodes where she was sort of at one with the universe. So she said the only thing that would help was for her was lithium. And again, this is written years ago, and I'm not up to date on what new
Yeah.
medications there are, what works. But even as a doctor, knowing that, she was like, I did not want to take it.
Wow.
Because I felt less of me, and she articulates all these and articulates her struggles with those thoughts and those feelings, and like writes about understanding that like it doesn't actually make her less of her, and like understanding where to put that and how to engage with life on the medication. But it was so helpful, obviously, with Ben, like deciding to stop taking his medication and like why that might be. And also she can describe the feelings of the medication, the feelings of being off the medication as a human being who's experiencing it. And then on top of it, she's describing to you physiologically what's happening with the medicine as a doctor. And then so there's Tom, the actor, like, man, this is literally all the information I could need. This tells me everything. This tells me like, this gives me the sort of parameters of where I can go. And then now it's just based on the script, right? Back to the script. It's like, where do they want me to go? Like where, if we have all the colors, like, okay, we could put some red in that scene and a little yellow, and then we'll save the blue for over there and put some of the green in there, and, hopefully kind of be truthful.
Tom, that was beautiful. And audience, I think as you're listening to Tom, if I could even help translate, like this applies even for individuals who are not actors or those who are not journalists or in the media. Like if you are, the more prepared you are for your job, your career, the big meeting, the big pitch, the big presentation, the more you know your numbers, the more you know the different scenarios, the more you know like 5-year projection financial models, small, medium, large models, the more you know that no matter what question you get, you can go anywhere with it because you're so well prepared with the data and the research. And if you're trying to break into a new industry or you want to become a founder or whatever the thing is you're doing, because Tom, what you just talked about was that source book for you allows you to tap into the full range of bipolarism. And as a result, you knew so many of the colors and the landscape and the nuance and what triggered or what can trigger individuals. So therefore you were able to take that script, pull it apart, right? And then be able to go wherever the director in relationship to the other characters were going. And I think no wonder it was so brilliant in the scenes that you had. I mean, they were explosive. I mean, I'm still watching I'm in my mind because I can see you in the car driving down that rolling highway. I mean, brilliant, and one brilliant breakdown, and I get it. And what the takeaway for me is how oftentimes beautiful bipolarism can be. And sometimes what we see things as a handicap, actually can be a beautiful advantage, right? On certain things. And it's also too an indicator on our medicine and our healthcare system. And sometimes how are people getting the right medications and prescribed? And should they be other ways to heal them? Because I've heard so many stories about people feeling they lose themselves, when they take those type of medications to deal with mental health challenges.
Yeah, I think, I think yes. I think the second we're judging something, we've created a separation from it. And then as an actor, you can't do your job anymore. So you have to understand it as much as you can, minus the good or bad. It's like, this is the range of the possible experience. And I can imagine how some of that would be amazing. And I can imagine how some of that would be really painful. And then, and then you just try and put it where it belongs based on the script. And then, yeah, as far as mental health goes, I think the most important thing to remember is everybody's an individual. And like all of these, mental health illnesses or struggles are going to be specific to that individual, because that individual has their own personality and their own wonderful way of coping and their own weird creativity. And like, some people are tougher, and some people can get up quicker when they get knocked down, and some people it's harder to knock down. And like, all of those things contribute to how do you deal with this person. It's like, as an individual.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Tom, now talk to me a little bit about, because now I'm curious now to go further in audience. So let's land on why we're here with Tom. Because Tom, I feel like I could talk to you about so many things for so long. So one day I hope to do brunch with you like down the road. It'll be really cool. But I wanted to know, what are you applying now to your character? Because audience, Tom is the lead actor in Amazon Prime Video's new series, Outer Range, right? And it deals also too a little bit of like mysteriousness, a little bit of dark energy, if you will. So talk to us a little bit more about the synopsis of the show, and then like what your lead actor, excuse me, you're the lead actor, what your character is to this show.
Yeah. Well, this show, really the sort of nucleus of the show is the Abbott family, right? And so Josh Brolin is Royal Abbott, and Lily Taylor plays my mom, and then Louis Pullman is my younger brother, and I play Perry, and I have a daughter in the show, and the sort of stasis that we come into when the show begins is that Perry's wife is missing, and so right off the bat, you sort of look at that and understand that regardless of who he may have been, I don't know, a year ago or 6 months ago, he's not himself, whatever that means. I mean, how could you be, right?
Yeah.
And what's really interesting about what I really loved from the beginning about these amazing scripts and this really interesting world that Brian Watkins created is like, there's a lot of questions and not always a ton of answers. And so you're really leaning forward and you're getting the sensations and the feelings and you're close, but it's like, it's so wonderful how it kind of asks the audience to just sit forward in their chair a bit and kind of participate and wonder what's going to happen. And then as the actor, of course, you're reading some of these things and you're asking questions, but not everything is immediately answered in the scripts either. And so, like you said before, you said something before about like, if I'm just so prepared for this interview, if I'm just so grounded, then I'll just show up, be present, and I can go wherever you want to go. I'm just gonna, and I think that kind of applied with Perry for me. Like what became really important with this job, maybe more so than others, was like, where is he starting? Where does he live when the first scene happens?
Yeah.
And not trying to find that energetically.
Yeah, I love that. I think the origin story, right? For me, I look at that. Where is he starting? For me, I can also read that into like, what is his constitution, right? So the questions of where is one starting for me is almost similar to like, what is one's constitution? Because once I know what your constitution is, I understand the decision points that you make, right? And so kind of where one is starting, you can understand like why they chose the next steps, right? Because their baseline was here, their starting point was here, like their origin story, was here. What made you take on this particular role? Like, what was the call?
Yeah, I mean, as is almost always my answer, I really loved the script. I thought it was really beautiful. I thought it was very interesting on multiple levels, as I'm sure you've sort of heard, or if you've seen our trailer or anything. There's the show is very grounded and very sort of gritty, family drama, Western, horses, earth, and yet there's this very weird sort of metaphysical element sprinkled throughout, sort of mysterious, powerful.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, what a juxtaposition of things. Like literally, you almost couldn't get more earthy than to tell a sort of cowboy story on a ranch, and you mix that with the ethereal, and I just thought I don't know, I was really moved and intrigued by the script. Like all of the characters to me had a beautiful kind of the sense of who they were came through, and maybe what they wanted, all shrouded in this very strange metaphysical, like what is happening and how is it going to affect other people. And, yeah.
Tom, they need to use you every time to sell the show, because I was already going to watch the show because of you, but when you described it as this grounding of horses and cowboys and ranch meets metaphysical, I mean, those are all the things that I believe as society we are actually gravitating towards too. If you think about shows like movies like The Harder They Fall, The Power of the Dog, right? Like we're kind of like in this westernized kind of way. If you think about like metaphysical, we're in this new like multiverse space, right? Like we're kind of exploring, the outer limits of society, culture, technology, right? And I see a lot of shows now kind of flirting with this property. And so I think combining all these elements together just makes for one fascinating show. And although audience, I haven't seen the episode, I've seen the trailer, and the cinematography is beautiful. Whoever shot this, kudos to the cinematographer and how they shot it, because it's absolutely gorgeous. And so I literally cannot wait to see it. And Tom, I was super excited to talk to you, and you did let me down. Like this was the beginning of a conversation I thought I've always want to have with you. When I first seen you come onto the screen on Ozark, I was like, I want him. It was so funny when you came across my desk. I just saw your name. I didn't see anything else. I was like, oh yes. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm super excited, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you check out Tom's new show, Outer Range, on Amazon Prime. As you can see, he's a very layered, nuanced fella, and what he brings to the acting is exactly what he's brought to this conversation. So, Tom, I'm rooting for you. I would love for you to come back on the Mike Muse Show at some point too. Feel free to come here anytime you want. You have a home here to discuss your properties, man. I'm gonna hit you up on Instagram.
Yeah, good, man. It was so nice talking to you. I'm so glad we met. Us Leos, we gotta stick together.
We gotta stick together. We gotta stick together, baby, in our aromatherapy selves.
Yeah.
Keep saving, Tom. Keep saving. No, so great. All right, take care, buddy.